Like to take a moment to thank our valued sponsors. John Travis, a financial coach and certified Kingdom advisor with Richard Young Associates, a registered investment advisor. We'd also like to thank Sense of Satisfaction by Cricket. And a special thanks goes to Paul H. Bush, the Burning Bush. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this show may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors. And if you would like to sponsor, please reach out. We'd love to have you. It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcy Bush. Come on, let's journey together.
When I got out of school and I went to Aiken Tech, I was about 5 or 6 classes from graduation, and it was not clicking for me. Like, the programming piece was not clicking. And I was doing the tutoring, I was doing the extra labs, I was spending time with my professors, and actually, one of the ladies that in our program, she was not empathetic or sympathetic at all. As a matter of fact, everybody thought she was a witch, mean, she was horrible. And she pulled me to the side one day. She said, "Sheeka, it's okay if this is not for you." And I could tell that she must have really saw me, because I was trying, like, everything you're supposed to do. Like, I would be in the lab 7 to 8 hours, like, trying to figure it out, trying to work through problems. And it's just my left brain just, it wasn't clicking. And so, like, I was losing weight. I would bust out crying in the middle of class and have to walk out of class. My hair was falling out. Like, because I felt like it was the pressure in my family. And let me say this, they didn't say, like, you have to do it. But I just knew that they were depending on me to do it. And they were looking forward to me having that. And it really bothered me that I felt like I was getting ready to let them down by not being able to get this degree. But when she was like, "Sheeka, it's okay." And I was like, and then I was able to tell myself, okay, because if this lady who was this hard and this stern is not saying you need to do better, you need to crack the whip, then she just looked at me and say, "It's okay." Then I was like, okay, well, then I'll be okay. And then she was like, "So what?"
So this teacher, who everybody knew was so stern, she gave you a pass.
She did. She did.
You felt her heart.
Yeah, I did. She was like, "So what do you like to do?" And I was like, "I really like people, like talking to people, like helping people." She was like, "Okay." And she told me, kind of where to go and which advisor to talk to and take the path from there. And so that's what I did. That's what I did. I decided to get a degree in human services. And because I knew I wanted to transfer, I also got Associate of Arts. And because I know that I wanted to work with some form of helping people with addictions, I also got a certificate in drug and alcohol. So those are the 3 things I got from Aiken Tech.
Okay. And so then you left Tech and went to USC Aiken?
Yes. I went there, and then I majored in psychology. And I was about 3 or 4 classes from graduation. I needed to fill up my schedule for financial aid purposes. And they were like, "You know what, you got enough credits and you're really close, you can double major. Sign me up." Because if I can go ahead and get my financial aid requirements done and have 2 degrees, great. So that's when I was able to major in psychology and sociology. And actually, if I had more time, because by that time I was starting to run out of gas, I would have gotten 2 master's degrees, because I love sociology and psychology equally. So if I could have gotten 2 masters, I would have.
Now tell us, for those of us who don't know, what's the difference in sociology and psychology? What does sociology deal with?
So sociology deals with the world around you, the people around you, the community around you, the society around you, the world that you live in. So psychology is you. Sociology is around you. So
it helps you to know about the outside to help figure out what's going on with the inside. And so well, we're going to jump there later. But, okay, so in the midst of this, during this time, your mom passed away.
Yes.
How old were you then?
So my mom passed away. I graduated high school in June of 1996. And my mom passed away the January of 1997. So she passed away a few months after I graduated from high school. And I was very fortunate that I was able to see her turn her life around. Like, our mom had just started the process of coming back around and being, you know, trying to be a mom. So she had a stable place to stay, her own place to stay. Me and my sister would spend more than just weekends with her. And at the time, we were fortunate that she was literally, we could step out our front door at our grandmother's house and look up and see her trailer. So that's how close she was to us. And when she passed away, she had actually saved up enough money to buy a double wide trailer, and she had purchased some land, and it was already put together. We had already walked through it and picked out our rooms. They just had to do the septic tank, all that stuff out in Montmorency. So that was already established. So she had stopped living in the other trailer, and we had moved in with my grandparents until they finished the double wide. And then she passed away before she could move into it.
Wow. See, I don't remember that part of it. And how did she pass away?
She died in a car accident. She died in a car accident, which was, unfortunately for my grandmother's set of children, that was the second of one of her children, because my grandmother that raised me had 5 children. That was her second child that had died in a car accident. And the accidents themselves were less than a mile apart on the same road.
Really? Didn't remember
The 2
that
accidents were less than a mile apart on the same road.
Wow.
Yes.
Did not remember that. And the immediate, like, the immediate after effects. What did your mom's death do? Did it? I know it was difficult. Period. But did it propel you? Did it make you decide, I'm going to do some things, or did it kind of pull you back? What did that do?
I had a lot of initially I had a lot of why. Like, she was just starting to get her life together, and my sister and I were really looking forward to actually having a mom that we never had, because our grandmother did a great job of being in the mom role. She was supportive to us. She supported us in things. She made sure that we were a part of things. There was not anything that we wanted or needed. She was great in that regard. But because we had spent time with our mom, we understood that we had one, and that she was around, but she just wasn't there. And so I will say that it just left me with a lot of why. Like, I just feel like at the time I felt like I didn't have enough time to be with her, to get to know her as a mom. So I don't want to say it set me back, because by that time I had started spending a lot of time with my friend. Well, I'd already spent a lot of time with my friend Tamika, but kind of going to church with her and see what church was like for her, or with where she went to church. And so there was some healing that already had kind of started for me before she passed.
Your mom took you to her. You gave your life to Christ.
Yes.
With your mom. Right?
I did.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So growing up, my grandmother went to church on Sundays. Like, she had the choir robe. She sung in the church. My grandfather was chairman of the deacon board at his church. So I grew up going to church. And so once we got a certain age, she no longer made us go to church. Here's a however: if you didn't go to church, you had to clean. So you had to do one or two. You couldn't just be home not doing nothing. And so my mom had moved back in with us because she was working on getting a trailer. And so she had started, because again, she had started the process of getting her life together. So she had started going to church. She was involved with church. She was singing on the choir. Like, she was in church, and she kept asking me to go with her. I was like, no. And then one day she was like, Sheeka, please come with me to church. And I was like, okay. So I got up, I got dressed, and I went. As soon as I walked in the door, just as clear as I hear you, I heard something say, "You going up there today?" To the point where I looked around, because I thought somebody was talking to me.
Wow.
And I was like, Mom, okay. So I sat down. I cannot remember anything about the service other than when he said the doors of the church are open, and I stood up and started walking. And even then I was like, oh Lord, what am I doing? I mean, and before I knew it, I was up at the altar crying, and my mom was hugging me so tight, like she was so excited that I had come, and I was just trying to figure out what in the world just happened to me. But what happened was I just met Christ. So yes, yeah.
And what's crazy is I know when you were with us, you were going to church. When you were with them, you
Sunday
were going to
school
church.
and everything.
But one of the people that would seem like one of the most unlikely because of the past was actually the one who heard to get you there.
Yep. She was the one. She kept begging. She kept begging. And that issue, like she could please. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. And that was it. After that, I was on fire. I wanted to learn and know everything. Like I wanted to soak it all up.
Yes. And so then you were tagging along with Tamika.
Yes. So, and then I started going to church with her. And I was like, oh, this is different. And then people were like yelling and screaming. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know what this is, but I like it. And then I remember one day, I went to a revival with her somewhere, and at the time we were calling him pastor. Pastor called me up, and he was like, he was telling me that something had just happened in my life, but that God was going to heal me. He said, hold your hands up and hold them like a cup, because he's getting ready to fill you. And he did. And he did. And that was pretty much it. I went back to my other church, and I told my pastor, I was like, I found something that I really love, and I just feel like I need to go in that direction. And he said, okay. And so, and that's when I started doing, at the time it was Shining Star Ministries, now it's a new beginning. But at the time, and that's when I started going to Shining Star. So I'll be 44 next month. And so I joined that church when I was 18. So I've been there since I was 18.
Wow. Yes. And I have seen the commitment to church and seen what God has done in you. And one of the things I appreciate is that you haven't let your influence remain inside the four walls. And so you have learned how to, what's the word? Help me find the word, Lord. You've learned how to put it into practice, not just in theory, but to know that, okay, this is what we learn, but this is what application, there we go. This is what the application of the word looks like. Because there are so many people who we know scripture. We can quote it. We can give you a little sermon about it. We can, but when it comes to the application, so many Christians fall short in applying it day to day. And in that servanthood, you know, somehow we often get caught up in the church, but we don't get caught up in the servanthood. And so do you know when the passion came for serving?
I think it's always just been a thing. I've always wanted to take care of people, make sure that they were okay. I was, and it's funny now, I wasn't funny then, but even as a small child at cookouts or at functions, the drunk people used to always find me and just tell me all their troubles. And I used to be thinking, I'm a kid. I don't even really know half of what you're talking about. But I just know that you need someone to listen to you. So even though I'm 9 years old and I'm just sitting there smaller than you, I'll listen to you tell me all about all your problems. So, but I've always wanted to make sure that people felt loved and that they knew that somebody cared about them and that someone would listen to them. I have people just come up to me and just start talking all the time, and I'm just like, okay, I don't really know you, but sure, I'll listen to all of your problems. So I mean, I just
you have that welcoming, nurturing, safe.
Because sometimes I don't even think I'm that way. Like sometimes I'm mean mugging on purpose because I'm like, I'm trying to get in and out, and it doesn't work.
And they go past your face to your heart.
They do. Like, hey, can I tell you something? Sure, I'll just put the pack of meat down and sure, just I don't look like I'm grocery shopping or trying to get out the store. Sure, what you got? So I've always just kind of been that way, and I've watched both sets of my grandparents take care of people just all their lives, like that kind of family. Like I've always, my grandmother that raised me, there was always a cousin, distant cousin. There was always somebody else in the house besides us. And she was either kind of helping them in their in-between place, helping them get themselves together. It was always something. And even on my dad's side of the family, it was always somebody helping somebody. And so I just felt like on both sides, even in the dysfunction, I learned that you take care of your people, you take care of your own. I guess I just, And I internalized that to just taking care of people.
And it seems like even in that, because like you said, both sides, a lot of them took care of family, but it sounds like when you came to the realization that, okay, you have to love everybody, it feels like something in you stepped outside the family to understand that, okay, I can help somebody else and pull them in. So, you talked about the evolution of your mom. You saw your mom turn that thing around. And so, I know, but they may not. Did your dad ever turn?
Yes, so my dad did as well. Right after my mom died, my dad's addictions got worse. Because even though my parents had been separated for several years, I didn't learn till later they were
many.
Yeah, they were still seeing each other, and I was like, oh, that's why nobody could ever really walk away, because I didn't know what y'all was doing. I thought y'all was separated.
Because you were up the road.
Yeah, I was at my grandma's house. Yeah, I had no idea till years later. But it just got worse because the love that my dad had for my mom, as a matter of fact, the closest thing I've seen to it is how granddaddy loves grandma. That's the closest thing I've seen to it. Like, my dad was always, I don't care what your mom is doing, that is my wife. That's my, he would always just say that, but that's my wife, because people would always tell my dad what my mom was doing, where she was. My daddy did not care. He would always just say, that's my wife. And if you tried to talk about or say anything negative about my mom, it was going to be a problem. Because that was his wife. And so after she died, it did something else to him. Like, and his addiction got even worse. And I remember he told me the testimony that he just fell on his knees in his room one night. He was like, God, like, if you are still there, if you still hear me at all, take this thing from me. Now, he explained and experienced in that room. He was like, all right, God, we good. Like, what you doing, you can stop. Like, I get it, because I'm ready to go. I want to do stuff.
What was it that he told God he wanted to see? Because I remember he said, it was something about the door. He tried to open the door. Somehow he told God, let him, if you real, let me know something. It's a trailer. He gets ready to go out the door and cannot open the door. And he keeps, and your daddy was super strong.
Yes, very strong.
He could not open that door. And then, like you said, it's like, okay, God, I got you. Let me out of here. And at some point, the door came open. And so then, like you said, that, and I think that was a little bit earlier, maybe. And then the addiction did amped. Hey, y'all. So that is what Sheeka would call a Jedi mind trick. So we had to stop our last recording because of some technical difficulty. Then we were trying to sync up our schedules and everything, but we are here today. I got a different hair color. Sheeka has a different hairstyle, but we have the same story. So, Sheeka, when we last had to stop, we were talking about the change that you saw taking place in your father, because we said, by this time your mom had passed away, and Dolphus's addiction had really gotten out of control. And then we talked about how he ended up beginning to change, and you said that he had said to God, like, change me if you got. So keep telling us about how you saw his evolution taking place.
Yes, so once I could tell he made the decision immediately. And what he decided to do was make it a purely spiritual thing. Some people go to rehab, and if you need that, do that. But my father chose a purely spiritual path. And even like a change in his friends, where he went, who he spoke to, like, you could see the change happening. Like, I remember my daddy telling me stories about how, the drug dealers would still knock on his back door on Fridays because they knew what time he got paid, but he had made a decision that he wasn't going to open the door anymore. And so in his mind, what he felt like was God was the one that took him through. And that's how he got through. And so I was able to see him, because my father had always went to church. But you could see the commitment be even stronger, and the consistency, and even the roles and responsibilities that they gave him at church changed. So it was a beautiful thing was a beautiful thing to watch and to see. And I'm just glad that he survived it, so that I could see that change.
Because just like you were saying, if someone needs to go to a facility, by all means go. One of the things that happened with Dolphus was, for as long as I could remember, almost many years and many times, he had gone into the facilities, would stay there the 30 days, however, 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever, would even live with us, would not live by himself, would live with us at my mom and dad's, but would have the same company. And so just what you said was one of the major differences, was that he changed the people around him.
He did.
Because I have seen him get out on a Friday afternoon from a dry out center, or a Thursday afternoon, and by Friday night he will be drunk again. But when he made up his mind, and do you remember when he made up his mind to stop drink? First of all, it was something like he stopped drinking, and he came out of the hole, because what I didn't know then, and you just alluded to, was that it had even escalated from alcohol to drugs. And I did not realize that, but it had gone to drugs. And I'm so grateful that he did get free, because even now there is a friend that I know he used to be with quite often, who I believe is missing. Like his family doesn't even know where he is. And that could have been the same thing. You know, same community and all. But he made up his mind. And so what I was saying too, there was a time when he said he was going to stop the drugs, and well, he said alcohol, but it was all of that. But then also, he later said he was going to stop smoking. On his birthday. I think he was like, I'm stopping. And just like that, he stopped. And so there's so much. But so in the midst, after the addiction, and he committed to Christ, then, like you said, he got into the church and all, but then came
cancer.
Yes.
And so I remember the first time seeing the knot on his neck, and me and my sister both were like, Daddy, what's that? He was like, well, I got a doctor's appointment, and they go look at it and see what it is. Well, he kept me and my sister the first time around pretty much at a distance with it, because I didn't even know that he was going through radiation the first time around. Like he just kind of, I don't want to say he kept it to himself, but he went to his appointments, came back, and then I thought, you know, he was done with that. And then when it came back around again, that's when I guess he allowed us to get a little closer. And he started telling me about appointments, and I started going to appointments with him, because when it came back in the same spot. And I remember that's when they were talking about the surgery and going into his neck, and I was like, whoa, that was pretty invasive. But you know, at the time they thought that was the best way to go in, remove it, get it all out, and we'd be done with it. So yes.
And so that ended up being, basically, if my memory serves me right, a 5-year journey.
Yes.
And during that time, so as an adult, you saw a very different father than you did as a child. So, because even as children, even though children love, even though they love, and they love hard a lot of times, they don't always see the full picture, because they're children. And they can't fully comprehend everything. But then as an adult, what did you learn about your father?
Oh man, so first of all, my daddy's funny. He was funny. Because growing up, my dad was very, even in his addiction, I'm your father. Yes, sir. No, sir. Do as you're told. I had no idea my daddy was funny.
A whole comedian.
So my cousins that used to work with my dad at the station would always tell me how funny daddy was. And I was like, Daddy's not funny. Like, he's super serious. But he really was. So first of all, I learned that my dad was like really funny. I learned that he's a smart aleck. I learned that as well. But also learned how strong my dad's faith was. Like the things sometimes when we would hear at visits or the news that we would get, just how strong his faith was. Like he would just say, okay, well, thank you. Y'all do what y'all have to do. And Daddy called him the good master, and the good master go do his part. So So that was the things that I learned about my dad. He was funny, he was smart aleck, but his faith was strong and it was unwavering, unmoving.
Right. He would always say, like, that it was, and I don't know if he said mind over matter, but basically that was it, mind over matter.
Yes.
If he had to change his eating habits, if he had to, whatever he had to do, it was like mind over matter.
Right.
And even some of the doctor's visits, you know.
Yes.
Tell about the time when he went to the doctor, and this time I think he needed assistance getting in, maybe the wheelchair or something.
Right.
And the doctor wasn't used to seeing him like that.
Yeah, so unfortunately there were a couple of appointments like that we had been on. And I remember one of the appointments, the doctor saw him and said to him, was like, okay, Mr. Bush, this doesn't look good. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you the treatments because you don't look healthy enough. He's like, you can't even get up on the table for me to examine you. So he was like, I don't really know. And so Daddy said, well, if there's nothing you can do, I thank you for your time and all your efforts, and we'll let the good master handle the rest. Now I'm sitting there like, Daddy, the man said that he can't give you the treatments. And so the doctor just looked at him and was like, okay.
Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at the ssbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together. Missed any of our past episodes? The pain that I've gone through, I've been through lots. Depression, perversion, low self-esteem, rejection. But I'm here, and I'm loving life, and I'm changed forever. I'm trying to maim you, to leave you, like, physically and mentally, maim you. He wanted your life.
I don't think he so much wanted my life is that he wanted some results. He wanted me to stay in the earth and not be who I am now.
Piece where you start talking about it was your love walk.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to not only share our experience, but find out that there were so many women in the room who had similar experiences.
Advice would you give to people who find themselves in the grips of grief right now?
The pain is inevitable, but the suffering is optional.
You were still sick, you still weren't well, but did something change for you when they gave it a name?
Yes, because once they put a label on it, I felt like it was putting a label on me.
Catch up on past shows on my YouTube channel at Marcy Bush, MarceyBush. And be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any future episodes.